In 1932, the nation of Australia went to war, not against a foreign power, not against an invading army, but against birds. 20,000 of them. And Australia lost. This is the story of the Great Emu War, the most absurd military campaign in recorded history, where soldiers armed with machine guns were defeated by flightless birds who didn't even know they were fighting. To understand how a nation could lose a war to its own wildlife, you need to understand the Australia of 1932. The Great Depression had crushed the global economy. Wheat prices had collapsed, and in the harsh, dry wheat belt of Western Australia, around a place called Campion, farmers were barely surviving. These weren't ordinary farmers. Many of them were veterans of the First World War, men who had survived the trenches of Gallipoli and the Western Front, men who had been given land by their government as a reward for their service, dumped on marginal soil in the middle of nowhere, and told to make something grow. By 1932, a quarter of them had already given up and walked away. The government had promised subsidies to help them survive. The subsidies never came. Wheat prices kept falling. And then, just when things couldn't get worse, the emus arrived.
After their breeding season, emus migrated. They moved from the dry interior toward the coast, searching for food and water. In 1932, an unusually large migration, roughly 20,000 birds, found something unexpected in the wheat belt. The farmers had cleared the land, planted crops, and built water troughs for their livestock. To the emus, it was paradise. The birds were enormous. Emus stand over 5 feet tall and weigh up to 100 pounds. They ate the crops. They trampled everything around them. And when they crashed through fences, they left gaps that let rabbits pour in and destroy what was left. The farmers were desperate. They tried shooting the birds, but there were too many. They tried fencing, but the fences couldn't hold. So they did what any group of war veterans would do. They asked the government for machine guns. The Minister of Defense, Sir George Pearce, agreed. He saw it as a chance to show the government was helping veterans and maybe as good target practice for the soldiers. He even brought in a cinematographer from Fox Movietone to film the whole thing. The operation would be commanded by Major Meredith of the Royal Australian Artillery. He was given 2 Lewis machine guns, 10,000 rounds of ammunition, and orders to destroy the Emu Army.
On November 2, 1932, the war began. Major Meredith and his men arrived at Campion and found a group of about 50 emus. The birds were too far away, so the locals tried to herd them into an ambush. The emus immediately split into small groups and scattered in every direction. The soldiers opened fire. A second burst of gunfire killed, in Meredith's words, a number of birds. 2 days later, they tried again. Meredith set up an ambush in a dam, a water source where he knew the emus would come. And they did. Over 1,000 of them marching straight toward the gun position. The soldiers waited. The birds got closer. The gunners opened fire, and after just 12 birds were killed, the machine gun jammed. The remaining 988 emus scattered and ran. Over the next few days, things only got worse. Meredith tried mounting a gun on a truck to chase the birds. The truck couldn't keep up. Emus can run nearly 30 miles per hour, and the ride was so rough the gunner couldn't aim. At one point, the truck hit an emu and crashed. By day 6, they had fired 2,500 rounds and killed somewhere between 50 and 500 birds, depending on who you asked. An Army observer noted something remarkable. Each emu pack, he said, seemed to have its own leader, a big black-plumed bird, 6 feet tall, who kept watch while the others fed and warned them when the soldiers were coming. Major Meredith himself would later say, if we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world. They can face machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks. On November 8th, 6 days in, the operation was suspended. The media had a field day. In Parliament, someone joked that if anyone deserved medals from the conflict, it was the emus, who had, quote, won every round so far.
But the emus didn't stop. The farmers begged for help again. The Premier of Western Australia pressured the government, and on November 12th, Major Meredith was sent back. This time, the campaign lasted nearly a month. The soldiers killed roughly 100 emus per week, but at a cost of 10 rounds of ammunition per bird. By December 10th, Meredith was recalled. His final report claimed 986 confirmed kills and 2,500 wounded birds that later died. Historians have since disputed these numbers as almost certainly inflated. Even if they were accurate, nearly 18,000 emus survived. The military operation was a failure. The government tried again to control the emu population in 1934, 1943, and 1948. Each time, the military refused to get involved. Instead, they went back to a bounty system, paying farmers for every emu they killed. In 1934 alone, 57,034 bounties were claimed in 6 months. It turns out individual farmers with rifles were far more effective than soldiers with machine guns. The real solution in the end was fences. Hundreds of miles of wire fencing stretching across the wheatbelt, keeping the emus out. It was expensive, controversial, and not entirely effective, but it was better than war. The Great Emu War became a legend. It's been the subject of books, documentaries, and even 2 feature films. And the lesson? Sometimes the most powerful military force in the world is no match for 20,000 birds who simply refuse to cooperate. But here's what most people don't know. The Emu War wasn't just a funny story. It was a warning about what happens when we reshape ecosystems without understanding them, about the arrogance of solving natural problems with military force, and about the fact that sometimes the side that wins isn't the one with the biggest weapons, it's the one that adapts. Next time, we'll tell the story of the woman who ruled an empire as a man and was erased from history for 3,000 years. Subscribe so you don't miss it.